Next up, we have Orville Lind with the Office of Subsistence Management. He is going to be talking to us about tribal and ASA consultation. And he's going to be freewheeling it, so that's nice change. Nice change. Thank you.
Aung. Chamai. Can everyone hear me back there? Okay, great. My name is Orville Lind. I'm the Native Liaison for the Office of Subsistence Management. I'm going to tell you how I got there. In 1991, I was hired as a refuge information technician, which are really important people, local hired by the U.S. government, Fish and Wildlife Service. Started in the early 80s. And I spent about 4 years being a refuge information technician, and I got promoted to a refuge ranger in 1995. Because I started off as a guide back home, and I was concerned about our resource, and there was many guides, just besides myself, who were really abusing the resource on the Alaska Peninsula. So I said, you know what? If I can't beat them, I'm going to join them. And so I became a refuge ranger, and I was about to go to law enforcement school, and my uncle says, you know, when you say you're going to catch all these crooks, well, that means me, because I don't know the regulations, for one. I just go out to get moose or meat, caribou and fish when I need it. Sometimes it was out of season, so they didn't know about regulation book. So I figured, you know, that's another part of my job. I'm going to learn how to read those regulations. 25 years, I still don't get it. And I've had law enforcement people tell me the same thing. So I'm looking forward to continuing to educate my people about the hunting and fishing regulations. Now, the elders know it all. It's really important to pay attention and visit with your elders, because they live their life. They know the changes that are happening, and we just have to listen more to them. Because guess what? If you don't listen, you're going to disconnect this whole ecosystem with the web of life. So we need to spend more time with our elders and pay attention to them. Amen? There we go. So on to my career as a Native Liaison. Along the way, in my 25 years of service, I also became involved in bear safety training, firearm safety training, boat safety training, even had the pleasure of training the youth ambassadors, and it was a blast. I hate to say it, but some of them shoot better than I do. And so I'm going to talk about consultation. When I accepted this job, I was actually doing the tribal consultation in a smaller scale back in the Alaska Peninsula Fish and Wildlife Service office. And it was just with 10 communities, 10 tribes. Now, when I say tribes, I'm talking about federal recognized tribes. In our nation, we have 567 federal recognized tribes. In Alaska, we have 229 federal recognized tribes. Woo! I tell you what, that puts the bee in busy. With my job, which I love so much, is, you know, there's a saying too, if you find a job you love, you never have to work a day in your life. I'm sorry, folks, I have the best job. I do. And communicating with the tribes out there, but the best thing of all, I get to communicate the tribes concerning subsistence issues. Now, I made a huge choice 18 months ago to change my rural status as a federal qualified user to a non-rural status, where I moved into Anchorage. But luckily I got friends and I got family out there to send me fish and birds and everything I need. Yeah. And so there's a process we go through. And in the year 2000, actually the Secretaries of the Interior and Agriculture started to implement this tribal consultation process. And again, by the Presidential Memorandum in November 2009, again, worked toward tribal consultations. Now, the Federal Subsistence Board's responsibility is to engage in regular, meaningful consultation and collaboration with federal recognized Indian tribes of Alaska on matters that will be substantial effect on them and their members. This policy also upholds the congressional mandate to implement the provisions of the Alaska National Interest Lands Conservation Act, ANILCA, 1980. So important. They say we have priority for our subsistence. And that's where I guess most of the foundation or the base of the argument comes from our tribes. If you have subsistence users on federal lands, you got a right to make regulations, proposals, to put food on your table. And I'm happy to say that of all you 229 tribes, I'm your contact. I'm the guy you say, hey, Orville, we don't have enough fish in our tables. What do? I'll be happy to help you. So the other thing, what is really consultation? You know, it's an enhanced form of communication that emphasizes trust, respect, and shared responsibility. It is really an open and free exchange of information and opinions among parties, which leads to mutual understanding and comprehension. Consultation is integral to a deliberate process that results in effective collaboration and informed decision-making. Tribes have a right. The government has to respect that. When it comes to a regulation or proposal that affects your tribe, the Federal Subsistence Board has to listen to you. The government has to listen to you. And again, tribal consultation, again, is the process of having a meaningful and effective communication and coordination between the federal agencies and the federal tribes. Consultation is conducted in a collaborative environment of trust, respect, and shared responsibility. Again, to open communication occurs between tribal officials and federal officials. The process to inform federal decision-making. Again, and we are required by Executive Order 13175. We are required to consult with federal tribes. Now, we go ahead and practice building those bridges and those strong relationships. I've only been doing it for 18 months. And I tell you, it's really rewarding to be able to assist, allow the tribes to connect with those people they need to connect. I don't know how many of you folks have read about the Nilchik tribe working with the Federal Subsistence Board and putting a gill net, subsistence gill net in the Kenai River. How many of you have heard that? That is huge news for everybody. If you bark loud and long enough, they're going to hear you. And there was a lot of people, even my coworker said, Orville, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. Well, there, it happened. And there's a difference between a tribal consultation and an Alaska. It's all the energy coming from me. The Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act corporations. You see, not only did I get to converse and consult with the tribal federal recognized tribes, is that we have 12 regional corporations I also deal with, and up to 200 village corporations. So there is a distinct difference between tribal governments recognizing sovereign-dependent nations, the federal trust responsibility to tribes. The government has a responsibility to protect tribal trust. In the ANSCA Corporation's consultation process, it's government to corporation. There's no trust responsibility in the ANSCA consultations. It directs agencies and bureaus to consult when taking action with substantial direct effect on corporation lands, waters, areas, the resources, any activity that impacts ability of the corporation to engage and participate in dependable programs for which it qualifies. So, with that, I've had the pleasure of working with almost all the tribes. That's why I so enjoyed making it down here. Guys are saying, well, I hope you make it down there because the weather is the boss. You know, I already know that. But I'm so happy to be here, be able to make some connections with the tribes, local tribes here, see some old friends and making new ones. I really enjoy doing what I do. With that, I want to close in saying, when we conserve what we love, and we will understand, oh, hang on a minute, let me get this right. Let me get this right. In the end, we will conserve what we love. We will love what we understand, and we'll understand what we are taught. Eh? Yeah, good. And with that, I'm open for questions. But I'll be here for the next couple of days.